How to reduce gun violence in America. With Washington deadlocked, some companies are taking a stand. Chains like Dick's Sporting Goods, which is pulling more and more guns off its shelves. CEO Ed Stack describes what went into that decision in a new book. It's How We Play the Game, from CBS's Simon & Schuster. We asked Lee Cowan to travel to Pittsburgh and pay him a visit.
How's everything?
Doing great.
Good,
you?
good.
Hi, how are you?
Nice to see you. How's our?
When you're the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, you can pretty much play golf anywhere you want. But when you're Ed Stack, the CEO of Dick's Sporting Goods, you get to play golf at work.
How's your game these days?
I'm a slightly better golfer than I was a hitter in baseball, but not much.
Not that he has a lot of time for play. With more than 720 stores in 47 states, he's got an empire to run. But Stack is now balancing running a business with his new role as one of the corporate faces of America's gun control debate.
And I don't understand how somebody with everything that's gone on could actually sit there and say, I don't think we need to do a background check on people who buy guns. It's just, it's ridiculous.
It's a pretty controversial stand for a company that's been in the gun business a long, long time. His father, Richard Stack, started Dick's Bait and Tackle in Binghamton, New York, back in 1948. He used a $300 loan from his grandmother's cookie jar to do it. He was just 18.
That picture right there is my father on the right and my uncle on the left in that store just shortly after it opened.
These days, he'd probably hardly recognize the place. It's grown from that one tiny location into a nationwide chain with some stores that are big enough to house the space shuttle.
This is 80,000 square feet.
80,000 square feet.
As Dick's grew, it became one of the biggest sellers of firearms. Until, that is, 2012, when a gunman opened fire at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut.
All we were going to do is just take it off the shelf and not say anything.
The it he's talking about is the AR-15, a lightweight, semi-automatic modern sporting rifle, similar to the one used in the Sandy Hook massacre. He ordered all of them be removed from every Dick's Sporting Goods store across the country.
We thought we'd get a little bit of a backlash, but we didn't expect to get what we got. All this about how we're anti-Second Amendment, you know, we don't believe in the Constitution, and none of that could be further from the truth. We just didn't want to sell the assault-style weapons that could inflict that kind of damage.
What Dick's didn't stop mass shootings. They were uncomfortably numerous after Sandy Hook. But when this one happened at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida in 2018, it hit closer to Stack than it ever had.
We found out that we sold this kid a shotgun, and that's when I said, we're done.
Even though that wasn't the gun he used.
Even though it wasn't the gun he used. It could have been. Fall will be here before we know it.
Ever since Parkland, he and his wife, Donna, have been weighing the moral implications of continuing to sell firearms at all. They even took a trip to Florida to meet with Parkland survivors.
You're speechless for a second because you can't even imagine the pain and the suffering that they're going through. And you walk in and I just wanted to hug all of them. It was hard.
The experience moved Stack's stand against guns one step further. He announced he would no longer sell any firearm to anyone under the age of 21, a move many inside the company warned would surely drive off sales. And it did.
How much did you think you were going to lose?
It was $250 million.
$250 million.
$250 million.
And how much did you actually
About
lose?
$250 million.
Yeah, you're pretty much right on.
Yeah, pretty close.
On top of that, the assault rifles that he still had in stock, about $5 million worth of inventory, he turned into scrap metal.
And I said, you know what, if we really think these things should be off the street, then we need to destroy them.
And if they don't want guns, that's their right. It feels really anti-American to start creating public policy through corporate policy.
Dianna Muller served in the Tulsa Police Department for 22 years and is now an award-winning professional shooter. When we caught up with her, she was competing at the Rock Castle Shooting Center in Park City, Kentucky, It was ladies only, a shooting league called A Girl and a Gun. But that's not all she does.
But I have a piece because I have a firearm by my side, specifically an AR-15.
Muller also became a high-profile spokesman for the gun rights movement. And that rifle she was just talking about is the very one that Dick's is no longer selling.
Is it a fair question to ask why you need a gun like that?
No.
Because?
This rifle and any other rifle kill fewer people than hammers and blunt objects every year, according to FBI statistics. So it doesn't make any sense to me that this is going to solve a problem that we are having.
Her worry is the same that the National Rifle Association has voiced for a long time. If one gun, like the AR-15, is demonized, then all guns may soon follow.
It leads me to believe that there's going to be another tragedy with a different gun, that they're going to come after the next gun.
This is the slippery slope that everybody...
Until it's all gone.
Dick's and others insist they're not coming for everyone's guns, but they do want common sense gun reform. And last month, chief executives from nearly 150 companies took the unprecedented step of signing a very public letter to Senate leaders, urging them to do just that.
We evolve, and a lot of things that we do today we wouldn't have done before.
Mike Bloomberg, former New York City mayor who invested millions of his own money to form the nonprofit Everytown for gun safety, is well aware of the pushback coming from the NRA and others. But he sees what corporate America is doing as just aligning itself with the public polling on guns.
There are some critics, though, who say that corporate America shouldn't be sitting in for the government, that these aren't people that are elected.
Couldn't agree more. But I think the people that say corporate America shouldn't be setting the social policies for the country are right, but corporate America certainly should give some input. They have the rights as well.
4 years ago, Walmart announced it would stop selling assault rifles too. And after a mass shooting in one of its own stores in El Paso this past August, stopped selling that kind of ammunition too. CVS, Kroger, and Walgreens, among other major retailers, joined Walmart in asking their customers not to openly carry guns into their stores, even in states where that's legal. Some in the financial sector got involved too, including Bank of America, that said it would stop lending money to certain gun makers.
Do you sense now, with impeachment in the air and everything else, that anything is going to get done on gun control anytime soon?
You know, a crisis is too important to waste, and maybe during this time they will do some things that they would never have done before just because they want to divert attention.
Stranger things have happened, but he's not holding his breath. Last February,
the bill has passed.
The House passed legislation that would broaden federal background checks for firearm purchases, but President Trump has wavered on just what he would actually sign into law. The bill is on Senator Mitch McConnell's desk, which suits Dianna Muller just fine.
Just because Congress isn't doing anything, they're standing up for me and making legislation based on what I sent them to Washington, D.C. for, not what feels good or what the masses may want.
Nevertheless, Stack isn't waiting. In fact, he may go even further. He's already removed all guns from more than 100 of his stores, and he's considering expanding that ban chain-wide.
And we've got the whole category under strategic review to see what we're going to do with this category.
So there's a chance you may stop selling firearms completely?
The whole category is under strategic review.
That sounds like a maybe.
The whole category is under strategic review.
He's not going to show all his cards. What he does know is that Dick's is changing, and he's counting on the culture to change right along with it.
So many people say to me, you know, if we do what you want to do, it's not going to stop these mass shootings. And
it probably won't, right?
And my response is, you're probably right, it won't. But if we do these things and it saves one life, don't you think it's worth it?